What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, so we are going to continue our coverage over Mark Waid's Daredevil, and we do pick up with a two-part story arc where you have Daredevil meeting the man without fear. Yeah, you heard that right. He's going to meet somebody else who is claiming to be the man without fear. And matter of fact, this is a new version of an old character from the early days of Daredevil comics. Now, the way the story starts off, we pick up with Matt Murdock with Kirsten McDuffin, his girlfriend, and also Foggy Nelson, his best friend, and their law firm right now writing a book about Matt's life. Because remember, Kirsten called up her father and told her father that Matt and her new law firm office in San Francisco is not making enough money, which means they have a lot of bills piling up left and right, and they need some help. And so her father offered Matt $8 million if he is able to write a book about his life. Matt agreed, but the problem is Matt is not a writer. Luckily for Matt, Foggy is. And so you have Foggy trying his best to help out Matt with this book. Now here's the thing. The big question is, what is Matt going to do with all that money? Well, we cannot forget that Foggy Nelson still has cancer, and he's trying to get a lot of cancer treatment to hopefully get rid of the cancer. But the cancer treatments are costing a lot of money. And so we already know that Matt might use some of that money to pay off the bills of his law firm, but at the same time, use some of that money to help pay for Foggy's cancer treatment. Now, you do have Kirsten and Matt having to leave, and the reason why? Because they have a new case. Some guy named George Smith, who apparently knows Daredevil very well. Now, Matt does not remember George Smith, but Foggy somewhat does, by saying that he was a crook, but then he went straight, and haven't heard from him in years though. Now we have to jump over to the new Stuntman, and the reason why I say the new one, because this is the first appearance of this one, but we're also going to see the old one in the storyline as well. Now when it comes to the new Stuntman, he's trying to pull off one heck of a stunt. Currently, he's on a pier right now, about to ride a motorcycle off a ramp and hoping to make it to Alcatraz Island. Now, it's one heck of a jump, but he's able to do it. But here's the catch though. In the middle of his jump, he does have all these different helicopters trying to get different angles of the jump. One of the helicopters begins to malfunction and about to crash into him. Well, really, it looks like it does crash into him, but somehow he is able to make it through and still land on the island. And so it looks like one heck of a cool stunt, but in reality, you're like, that's not possible. A helicopter ran into you, and somehow you are able to make it out of there alive and then still land perfectly on the island? There's no way. But getting back over to Matt Murdock and Kirsten McDuffin, we do see them meeting up with their new client, and that would be George Smith, the original Stuntman, who first appeared in Daredevil number 58. Now here's the thing, he was a D-list character, a D-list villain, because he was only going after Daredevil because he was offered $1,000 and failed. Then he tried to kidnap Karen Page and again failed thanks to Ghost Rider and Daredevil. Now, after those storylines there, he did move to San Francisco to restart his career as a stuntman. And matter of fact, he had a good career until he had to retire thanks to all the different kinds of injuries. But after retiring, the new stuntman appeared and began to use his name. And so when it comes to George, the new guy can't do that. Now here's the catch though, because all the different contracts that George has signed basically says that it's okay for someone else to step in and be the new stuntman. But for George, that's not okay at all. And he wants to sue the new stuntman. Now Matt and Kirsten, they tell him, you will lose this battle very easily because, hey man, he has all the rights and legal rights to do what he's doing right now. Now Matt wants to walk out until Kirsten gives Matt an update, because now the new stuntman is calling himself the man without fear, and that really bothers Daredevil a lot because that's his thing and no one else's. Now, when it comes to Matt Murdock, he's trying his best to play it off that it does not bother him that the new stuntman is calling himself the man without fear. but it really does bother him. But either way, you do see Matt and Kirsten trying their best to find a way to sue the new stuntman for George. But the problem is, the new stuntman has all the legal rights to use the name like he wants to, and currently he is using it to make a lot of money. And so you have Matt trying his best to calm down George, but it's not working. Now, here's the thing, because now you have the new stuntman calling out Matt Murdock, because you have to remember, around this point in Marvel Comics, the entire world knows that Matt Murdock is Daredevil, the man without fear. And so you have the new stuntman saying, I want to challenge Daredevil for the right of the idea of the man without fear. Whoever wins will keep it, and the other person has to lose it. Now, when it comes to Matt Murdock, he does not want to take that challenge at all. His main goal is to find a way to help out George. Except by the next page, we kind of find out George had committed suicide. And Matt is not happy. And Matt wants to have a one-on-one conversation with the new stuntman. Because what led to George's suicide was not just a new stuntman using his name, but going on live television and talking trash about George. And so when it comes to Matt, he needs to have a one-on-one conversation with the new stuntman. And so you have Daredevil head over to Stuntman's next stunt to have that one-on-one conversation to tell Stuntman that he is at fault for the suicide of George Smith. Except before Matt is able to tell everything over to Stuntman, he tells Daredevil, "Oh, George? He's not dead. Matter of fact, he's alive. See, my boss and I, we kidnapped him. We faked the entire thing. And so, if you want to see your friend again, you're gonna have to do this stunt with me. And if you do it off in a great way, then maybe I'll let your friend go. But it all comes down to you." And so Matt realized he has no choice but to go ahead and do this stunt. Now, by the time you have Matt Murdock get back down to the ground level, you have Stuntman coming out of the back of the truck with two bikes. We already know what that means. He is going to race Daredevil on the bridge. Now, Matt already knows that this race is most likely going to be one of those stunts where it seems like him or Stuntman is going to die, but either one of them might be able to pull it off. Because like we saw earlier, when he came to Stuntman, he almost died when he did that jump, to only survive to finish the jump. Because Matt's saying, no matter what happens here, Homeboy is always trying to pull off one heck of a stunt with style. Now, while you have the two characters getting ready, Matt realized something, that this is not Stuntman. When he went inside the truck, he switched roles with somebody else. And then Matt realized that it's George Smith he's now racing against. And now Matt put everything together, how the new stuntman is able to pull off all those different stunts. You see, at the very beginning of the stunt, you have somebody else sitting in the chair. And when a bomb goes off, that person dies, but the real stuntman appears on the other side, making it seem like he survived, but in reality, he never even started the stunt. Somebody else did, and they died. And now with George Smith sitting in the chair next to Matt Murdock, Matt knows that somewhere in the race, a bomb is going to go off, and George will most likely die. And when that happens, then you're going to have the real stuntman appear like nothing happened at all. And so now Matt has to find a way to save George, but to also stop the new stuntman. And so as we get into the second half of the story, we pick up with Daredevil and also George racing against each other. Now, this is really more of Matt trying his best to catch up to George to save his life. But while you have the two characters racing, well, Stuntman and his production team, they're watching the race and they're wondering how in the world is Matt Murdock being able to keep up with George if he is blind. But either way, you do have Matt being able to save George's life, because Right when he does get close to George, we kind of find out a bomb was placed inside the motorcycle that Daredevil is riding on. But he does jump off right in time. The bike explodes, but he grabs George and then goes after Stuntman. And then being able to stop Stuntman, and George is on his way over to a nearby hospital. Now that leads into Matt Murdock being able to have a one-on-one conversation with Stuntman to figure out what in the world is going on here. Now when it comes to Stuntman, he says, listen, this was not my idea. It was my boss's idea. I was technically forced to do it, but of course, I still said yes because it was a lot of money. Now Matt is wondering, okay, who is your boss? But the guy says, I can't tell you because if I do, well then he'll kill me. Now you have Stuntman being able to distract Daredevil long enough to get away. And it does lead into another car chase where you do have Matt Murdock being able to catch up to Stuntman and actually take him down. But getting back over to the hospital, we do pick up with Kirsten checking in on George. Now, before she does that, she overhears the doctors talking about the blood work of George by saying there are different kinds of chemicals. They have no idea what kind of chemicals they are. But for some reason, they've been in his body for a good while. Now, as soon as she walks into his room, he tries to take her as a hostage. Now, she is able to break free, but then George jumps out the window. Now, luckily for George, he was caught by Daredevil, who takes him over to a nearby rooftop. Now, when it comes to Matt, he still feels bad for George and wondering what in the world is going on, man? Talk to me. But here's the thing. Kirsten says, don't do it, Matt. He's been lying to you the entire time. That means the entire story, George has been lying to Matt. And so we kind of find out that George was the mastermind behind everything. Let me explain. So when it came to George, he kind of missed the old days when he was famous. And so what he did, he contacted the new Stuntman. Now he told new Stuntman, I need you to go out there and pull off different kinds of stunts. And once you're able to do that, you're going to have more and more people wanting to watch you. You're going to have more and more people try to make deals with you. But then one day, one stunt, you're going to have everybody there believing it is you, but in reality, it's going to be me. And once I am able to finish the stunt, I will then take off my helmet and show the entire world that stunt right there was not you, it was me. And at least I will have a couple of days, weeks, or months of being famous again. Now, this is where Matt Murdock comes in. Because when George got word that Matt Murdock moved over to San Francisco, you had George say, this is great because now I can also ruin Matt's rep as well and then be known as the man without fear. And so he began to take pills that could help him lie to Matt Murdock. And the reason why he needs that help because Matt Murdock's powers makes him a living lie detector. And so if anybody tries to lie to Matt, he's able to figure it out. And so you had George take pills to hide the fact that he was lying so that he could get Matt at one of those events so that he could beat Matt and then be called the man without fear, but to also have all the fame all over again. Now Matt realized that he has been played. He is so upset and so mad because he believed that George is somebody who was suffering, that George needed a friend. But in reality, George was never Matt's friend at all. And that really does bother Matt a lot because when it comes to Matt Murdock, he does not have a lot of friends. He has Kirsten, his girlfriend, he has Foggy, but when it came to George, he was kind of hoping that maybe him and George could become buds. But now Matt realized he was played. Now when he does go back to his law firm, you have Kirsten establish that no matter what, he'll always have her in his corner. And then he says he knows and says, I love you. And this is huge because Matt Murdock just said the 3 words to Kirsten. And the question was, how would she react? Well, she loved it and they kissed. And so it looks like Matt and Kirsten relationship is going pretty well. And this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.